Welcome to Modern Day Abigails, a women's outreach of Calvary Chapel, Pearland. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new." So let's listen to God's Word, where everyday lives transform and where we can become the women God created us to be.
Men don't think the way we do.
Yeah,
they think
I'm getting a little irritated with him.
I know. I think I've got somewhere in here where it's getting
a little irritated with it.
Men don't think the way we do. They don't see things the way we see.
That is in your notes later.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have that. But anyway, so I want you to think about this as we're watching this family constantly worship. Nothing's stopping him. He's going to go to worship. Everybody's going to go. We're going to worship. Pastors make mistakes. People in church are not perfect. We all make mistakes. You know, if two wicked priests could not stop this family from worshiping, why should you stop worshiping the Lord your God? I mean, if you have a relationship with Jesus, can anything really stop us? Because those two wicked guys are there. Everybody, they knew what they were doing. They're right there on the front of the doorsteps. They knew what they were doing, but they still wouldn't worship God because they weren't going to let two wicked men stop them from worshiping.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw this in there too.
Okay.
Good example is sometimes we have a spouse that will not go to church with us.
Right.
So does that mean we don't go to church either?
I think that...
hello.
Yeah. Unless you have a spouse who's looking at you and saying, "Don't you dare go. You can't go." And
okay. That is different.
Yeah, exactly. If they let you go, go.
Yeah.
We have a friend who's done that. Her husband refused to go to church, but he never stopped her from going.
Yeah.
He could have. He never did.
Nope.
Because the Lord intervened.
Yep.
And she went all the time. And she was polite about it, though. She a lot of times wouldn't go to lunch with us because she goes, "I got to get back home to my husband."
Yep.
You know, that's hard. That's doing what's right, not what's easy.
Yep.
So make sure nothing is stopping you. And I think I have this next passage. I meant to put it after what I read, and I put it before what I read. But let's go ahead and read this passage, and then we'll read the Samuel.
You do you do it in the order you need to do it in.
I don't know what order I was doing it at that time. There's no telling. 1 Peter 4, "But the end of all things is at hand. Therefore be serious and watchful in your prayers. And above all things, have fervent love for one another. For love will cover a multitude of sins. Be hospitable to one another without grumbling." So let's look at these two women as we think about that passage in 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 4. "And whenever the time came for Elkanah to make an offering, he would give portions to Peninnah, his wife, and to all her sons and daughters." So I want to stop there. That means, think about it. You know what that means? Hannah's been barren for years. Years. I mean, even think about, because it says sons and daughters. So that means at least 2 boys and at least 2 girls. So that's at least, I mean, if you're like cranking them out,
at least
4 years, but probably more than 4 years.
Yeah.
So she's been barren a long time.
Yeah.
And who knows how long they tried before he wound up with this second wife.
Right.
Which, like I said, we don't, poor Peninnah. It's bad enough that you're not loved, but then you're like second. You're not even get to be first.
You're just there for, as a baby maker.
Yeah.
Ladies, if y'all hear squeaking, just ignore that.
Oh, yeah, it's the chair.
My chair squeaks.
Yes, it does.
And I'm a fidgeter, so I'm sorry in advance. It is what it is.
Exactly. But, so I thought about that. Hannah, she's been barren for years. It's not like she, one day woke up upset, mad. She's been really going through this trial for years. And like I said, Peninnah's been going through this trial for years because first off, she's like, "Oh, I get to be a second wife. I don't even get to be a first wife." And this man obviously loves his first wife, and I'm bearing him all these children. I'm going through labor, doing all this, and I don't get that same love.
And here she is getting double.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're about to read is how in verse 5, "But to Hannah he would give double portion, for he loved Hannah, although the Lord had closed her womb." Please note, ladies, the Lord had closed her womb, and her rival also provoked her severely to make her miserable because the Lord had closed her womb. So it was year by year when she went up to the house of the Lord that she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat. So double portion meant Hannah found favor and was loved. Peninnah did not feel loved. I get that. I have been in a relationship where I just did not feel loved at all. And it's pretty miserable. I can't imagine being in the same house. It's bad enough knowing that they love somebody else, but to see that person and to share, I don't know if they're sharing a house, if they have a separate house, if Peninnah was pretty good about keeping her behavior at bay while he was around. I don't know that part. It doesn't say, but we do know that Elkanah loved for her, even though she could not bear him children, which was very important at that time. And my guess is he probably didn't give up trying to have children with her, even though her womb was closed. I don't think he gave up. But Christ Jesus is like that with his bride, the church. He loves us when we are not faithful. But like Hannah that we see in a bit, there is something we can do about it. So I saw that picture of how much Jesus loves his bride, even though we're not perfect. Elkanah loved Hannah, even though she couldn't have children. And at that time, that was very important to them. That's why he got a second wife. But it didn't stop him from loving her. Could you imagine, Joanna? Think about that. You have your family, you're going to church, and somebody's there making you miserable, making fun at you, or making to the point where you can't even enjoy the service because you're so miserable because she's giving you such a hard time about not having, children. I mean, I can imagine what Hannah would say. Peninnah would say to Hannah, probably very dramatic about what her children were doing and, talking about how tired she was because the baby wasn't sleeping through the night and all the feedings and how real women have children. If you're a real woman, you could have babies.
See, all of that being said is why I don't believe for 1 second he didn't know. Because it even says year by year she went up and was provoked. They were all traveling together.
Yeah, but if he loved Hannah that much, why would he allow it?
Because maybe he don't like confrontation.
Possibly, but I would think if he loved her that much and saw her that much miserable, because he mentions it later, why are you so miserable? Because you can't have children? She never once said no, it was because of Peninnah. I don't think she ever told him, and I don't know if and God may have hidden it from him.
I don't know.
Because he didn't want him to intervene. Maybe.
I don't know.
Because if he had intervened...
I've got my mind made up. I'm biased.
That's okay. I'm just saying, let's go through this.
I'm irritated with them, okay?
And we'll keep going through it because I think this was this trial was part of getting Hannah where she needed to go. And he couldn't have Elkanah in the way. So let's see.
That's
but
true.
I don't know how they traveled. I think sometimes the men would travel together and the women would travel together. So I'm not sure if he was right there with them. I think sometimes they did. I remember when we read the story of Joseph and Mary with Jesus, Jesus wasn't walking with mom and dad. He was walking with others. Well, actually, he stayed behind, but they thought he was walking with other people.
That's true.
So we don't know that part, ladies, but we're having fun anyway, just trying to, get through it.
Yeah, I've got some...
Yes.
I've got some notes, but I don't know if you're there yet. So
okay. Well, let me know when you're ready because
okay.
I am going on another historical marker bathroom break.
Okay. Then let me say what I got to say because
okay. Then go for it.
Then you're past my thing. So one thing I've noticed about Peninnah so far is she is very passive aggressive.
Oh yeah.
Very passive aggressive, and also that both women were hurting, but on complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Mm-hmm. One was loved and couldn't have children, and the other was unloved, watching the man she loves give his love and attention away and double portions away to a woman that she could never be.
Exactly.
Never measure up to.
Exactly.
According to clearly her husband, because that's the way he acted, and clearly her own thoughts.
Yeah, and I did try to Google this, figure out, how was a second wife picked, and I really couldn't. I mean, maybe I Googled the wrong questions or something, but I didn't really find anything. I saw some stuff about ancient China. I'm like, we're a little further over.
Yeah,
don't think that was going to help me.
And I don't know if this relates to, but for those of us who have been cheated on and the husband did not hide the affair or hide the fact that he was with other women and that he would never be faithful to you, that this is a relatable feeling
exactly
here when you know that your husband's never going to be faithful.
Right.
He's never going to love you.
Exactly.
He's never going to give his heart over to you and be with just you. There's a thought process, a mental breakdown that goes on. And so that is one of the reasons why I can relate to Peninnah.
And I can relate to Peninnah too, because my ex-husband, I don't.
Oh, you were there.
Yeah. But his was more, if it was, I don't know if there was an actual woman, but I could tell when he had seen a woman that he wanted and he couldn't have. So he'd find me instead, or he wanted porn women.
Yeah.
And I would not be that way. And so it was the same thing as like, why can't I get your attention? I'm right here. Why do you want something fake?
I'm real.
I'm real.
Flesh and blood.
Right. I'm
your
right here.
Wife.
But you prefer that?
Yeah.
And then be disappointed because I couldn't be or wouldn't be that? Yeah. I understand.
Yeah,
it's both spectrums. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And there might be women here who are married and they don't feel loved by their husband who's in the house and there is no other person. And sometimes,
that's true.
And that's actually kind of leads to the next part where I was going to talk about. And that's what the enemy does, though.
Wait, because here's the thing. It doesn't have to be a woman that takes away their attention.
Right, exactly.
It could be all kinds of
things.
things.
It could be nowadays, games,
sports,
work.
Yeah.
We can keep naming it. But at the same time,
the list can be long and it could be personal.
Hunting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes it's not that the husband doesn't love the wife. The wife is just not recognizing it because the enemy's messing things up.
Agreed.
He will make us question our character and our worth. He will make us doubt whether we're a real woman or that we don't have any values or, because we can't or don't do something, Like I said, I'll sit there.
And those are all lies.
Exactly.
Lies.
I actually had some guy basically tell me I was not a real mom because I only had one child. Now, never mind. I was working full time and going to school part time while raising my child, but I wasn't a real mom because I only had one child.
Well, he hadn't had any.
No, he did. He had quite a few. Apparently, I wasn't a real woman. Oh. Now, why we had to have that conversation? Because it was the enemy.
Yeah.
And the enemy likes to do that sometimes.
But he didn't bear any children, so he doesn't even know what a woman goes through.
I know. But anyway, what I'm saying is the enemy was working through him to attack me at my core.
Yeah, shame on him.
I know.
He's a real winner, Anna. Don't listen to him.
That was a long time ago. Forgiven by then. We're past it. We've forgiven him.
Just a winner.
Exactly. But I just want to warn you ladies that the enemy's going to also try to make you think things. And do I have my rule here? No, I don't have my rule yet. I have a rule for this later. I'll share my rule for myself. When I get attacked, or I'm not sure if I'm being attacked, if I find that rule, I'll tell you. I already told y'all. My first rule is if I see something or I think of something or a thought pops in my head, my first rule is, Lord, is that you or is that the enemy? Because a lot of times it's just the enemy. Second rule is, then from there, if the Lord says, no, I'm showing you this, okay, Lord, you're showing me something. Sweet. Do I get involved or am I just to pray? I'm going to tell you probably 99% of the time, he's just like, I just need you to pray. He doesn't want me to get involved. Very few times do I get involved if I see something because he wants me to just pray about it. So ladies, that's something I've always carried. If I see something, even if it's somebody else who makes me mad, I'll stop and go, wait, Lord, is that truth? Or is the enemy trying to show me something? Because sometimes truth hurts. You don't have to lie. Sometimes the enemy doesn't have to lie because it's right there in front of you.
That's true.
But it's how you deal with it that makes the difference. And that's what we're going to continue talking about. But I do want to also go over Philippians 4, starting at verse 10. But I rejoiced in the Lord greatly that now at last your care for me has flourished again, though you surely did care, but you lacked opportunity. Not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I'm in to be content. I know how to be abased, and I know how to be abound. Everywhere in all things I have learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now I've got a pet peeve, ladies. I cannot stand how verse 13 is misused. I'm sorry you're going on your little bike. That is not, I'm glad you can do it. I'm glad you think your Lord's your strength on that, but it is a bicycle. Paul is talking about chains. Paul is talking about going hungry. Paul is talking about real hardships during his walk with the Lord and in getting the gospel message out. Okay? So I don't like how people misuse verse 13, and I certainly don't like how they like to leave the name Christ out and replace it with him. Who's him when it's standing alone? Have you ever seen that, Joanna? Go to Hobby Lobby?
Yeah.
Not to pick on Hobby Lobby, because I love Hobby Lobby, or as my little grandson would sometimes say, Wobby Wobby, when he was little. He liked Wobby Wobby.
Yeah, don't be dogging Wobby Wobby.
No, I like Wobby Wobby. It's just, though, I do get irritated when I see a sign that says, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Mm-hmm. Who's this him?
Right.
You know?
Give him a name.
His name is important.
Yes.
You wouldn't want to be her. You know, oh, look at her. You know, don't degrade anybody by taking their name away.
Or this is Ray's wife.
I'm okay with that. I'm kind of used to that. You know, they all know him,
right? I was introduced somebody as this is Victoria's helper.
Oh gosh!
Even though he had known me for 2 years, he knew my name. But this is how I was introduced to somebody new.
Oh, that's rude.
It was totally rude.
Yeah, in fact, I actually introduced somebody to one of my first supervisors at the company I work for, and I said, "This is my supervisor. I work for him." And he goes, "No. He goes, "You work with me. We work together."
Okay.
Yeah. All right, dude. High five. I wasn't used to that. I was brand new at the company. I was like, not used to that. All right, this is great. And that's how it was. We work with each other, and that's, you know. So don't take away a name, and don't degrade somebody by saying, gosh, that's rude. But and also at the same time, so what we're seeing here is, one, learning how to be content, that the Lord can help you through that. The second thing we're going to learn is James 1, starting at verse 2. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. Let patience have a perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing.
Can we talk about contentment for a minute, or should
Absolutely.
I wait?
No, go for it.
Ladies, and whoever's listening, contentment runs hand in hand with patience and with having joy right where the Lord has you. Now, I don't say that lightly, because when we are in trials or when we are going through something, and our something could last years, we can handle things a couple different ways. We could be completely in despair about our situation, which I see all the time, which is not where the Lord wants us, by the way. Or we could be content and literally just going with the flow of what the Lord has us doing. Easier said than done.
Yeah.
That requires lots of prayer, lots of help from our prayer partner.
Yes.
Because some trials are hard.
Yes.
Some of them are hard. They're just hard.
Exactly. Okay? And that's what Hannah's going through. She's going to years. It's a trial that's going on years. I don't think Peninnah woke up one day and got, I think I'm just going to give Hannah a hard time.
Completely bullied.
Yeah, completely bullied. And I imagine it started from the very beginning, because all of a sudden you're brought in as a second wife because you know she can't have children. And she was already known, hey, I'm a second wife. I can't even be a first wife to somebody else. I still like to know. Yeah, ever. I'd still like to know how that one happened. I don't know if is it one of those cases where his brother died and so he wound up with his wife? But it doesn't say that. I think it would have said that if that had been it. So I don't know. It's just because he's saying the children are for him. So it wasn't that she had a child for his brother. So somehow, and so I bet that started at day one. And could you imagine how Hannah felt on day one? I couldn't do it. So you had to bring in a woman?
Was there any notice?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how that works. That's what I mean. I couldn't find any information. It's like, how does this whole second wife thing work out?
Did he show up and say, hey, honey, I'm marrying somebody in about an hour who can give us kids?
Well, we hope, because I don't really know.
Right,
but
that's right. We don't even know.
Yeah.
That was a gamble. It's a 50-50 right there.
Right. We are assuming she can. She looks like she has got the right hits.
Yeah, I'm. You know what? I'm liking Elkanah even less. He's just not even knowing.
You know what? No, because he did love the Lord and he did worship faithfully. It was the culture of his time. It stunk. And I'm so glad the Lord did not keep it up, because there's no way I'd share my husband, and he knows it.
Right?
There's no way.
Oh, listen.
I would have been if I'd been Hannah, I probably would have been vicious, and this whole story wouldn't even made the Bible, because I would have been vicious. It wouldn't even been in the
Somebody
Bible.
would have been dead. No, Ray is always saying, Anna is mine and I'm Anna's.
Exactly.
He's always saying, he says that at the pulpit. He uses it in his messages. He's very, very clear where he stands on that. So, girl, you ain't got nothing to worry about.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, because he knows, because I don't share her. I would not share her.
For his own safety, he has got it
wouldn't
under
have been
control.
Him. It'd been her. Because remember this, okay, you weren't there, but this, a friend of ours had a friend who she had been slightly drinking, and she's a singer. So she decided she's going to go sing Ray happy birthday. President Kennedy style.
Was she?
Yeah, President Kennedy style. We just gotten engaged. And this is a part of Ray had never seen really of me.
Well,
because I'm behind
break him in, Anna.
I was behind this huge table, and she starts getting closer to him, and he doesn't know he had no clue what she was about to do. So he was a little shocked, like he was taking a little bit of time, like, what is going on? But me, being me, I'm shooting up, jump up, I'm like, no, you back up. I'm not comfortable with this. I scared the living tar out of her.
Shame on her.
She backed up, looked at me. I said, no, further. I only told her further just to make a point. She was really far enough away, but to make a point, I made her walk back further and more. She walked back a little more. I said, that's fine. And she sang him happy birthday very quickly.
You know what?
She actually,
no words for that girl. Hopefully she learned her lesson.
For years after that, she would ask our friend, so how's that lady?
Oh, God.
She'd ask, I heard men, and I was going to the ladies' room, I heard these guys in the background go, whoa, she's aggressive. Like, that is my man. You are not messing with my man.
Hey, you know what? If some guy were all up in their wives' faces doing whatever he would be doing, they'd be aggressive too.
You know what? And it would have been reversed.
So,
if the guy walked up to me, I'd probably have been like, "What are you doing? Why are you?" I would have been slow and going, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" And Ray had been like, "Hey,"
exactly.
But he's
never
also
know till you're in those shoes.
Yeah, exactly. And he's also a lot calmer than I am, and had too much caffeine, and I'd just gotten engaged, and I'd waited 13 years for that. By golly, she was not going to interfere.
Girl.
So that's what I'm saying.
If you want to live, you back it up.
I'm just saying, Hannah, I actually admire her restraint.
Oh, right.
I admire her restraint. I admire
I do too.
That she did not retaliate. And she showed emotions. She cried. She was miserable.
Peninnah lived.
Yep. But it didn't control her. Because I do not see anywhere where Hannah defended herself. I don't see anything in the scriptures that said she said anything mean back to Peninnah, because I don't think if she had, I'm not sure if the Lord would have worked with that.
That she retaliated,
he
slashed her tires, even though they didn't have tires, but whatever they had back then.
They had wheels. He slashed the wheels.
Yeah, chop it up.
Yeah, I believe she stayed quiet. I believe she was a woman of quiet, gentle spirit. You're going to see her prayer later. It was
which
beautiful.
is what we
I
all
almost missed.
should
I can't
be.
believe it. I'm like, oh, I'm finished. And I'm driving down the road, and the Lord's like, there's a chapter 2, right? Okay.
Oh, that's what your text meant. I'm like, what does that mean? I don't.
Hannah has a prayer.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I almost forgot. Yeah. I can't believe that.
Sometimes we are just, not on top of everything.
Yeah, that's when the Lord, he just kind of folds his hands and goes,
well,
hey.
Last time, a woman at the well, I missed the whole next section. Thank you, Anna, that you didn't. You read it.
That was
I'm like,
the Lord.
oh my gosh, you kidding me? There's more.
That was the Lord.
It's my own message. And what? There's more?
Hey.
Okay. Epic fail. Epic fail.
It's okay. If you think about it, the way Peninnah went to her way to worship, you can tell she didn't love or care about the Lord. She was so
there.
bitter that she could not see past her nose. But I do feel sorry for her. I really do. Her emotions controlled her. And it wasn't fair that she was a second wife. And it wasn't fair that, she couldn't be loved.
But as you've said.
But she's been well taken care of.
Exactly. And as you've mentioned before, she could have handled it differently.
Yes, she could have.
We do have choices.
Yeah. And if you think about it, and feeling unloved is torture, but she was well taken care of. I mean, she might have been a second wife. She might have been a second wife to somebody else. She was not abused. She had a guy who
children
loved,
were taken care of.
I mean, Elkanah, you could tell he took care of her.
Yeah.
He cared about her. He didn't love her like he did Hannah, but he cared about her.
He probably did love her.
I think he did have a love for her, but not the same way.
But Hannah was his love.
Yeah. But he took care of her. He didn't abuse her. He didn't just So Peninnah was not in an ideal situation. It wasn't great, but she had a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah.
If she was going to be a second wife, because if she wasn't a first wife, she was bound to be a second wife. She could have had a lot worse husband. A lot worse.
At some point, we've got to stop grumbling.
Yes.
And stop feeling sorry for ourselves. Yes. And stop,
and
woe is me. And just
make changes.
Grab onto the joy and make changes.
Make a list of everything to be thankful for. I sometimes have to do that for myself. I'll get overwhelmed with everything going on, and I have to sit there and create a list of what to be thankful for to remind me to be happy because I have a lot to be thankful for. I can't let the enemy overwhelm me with everything. Yeah. So I'm just saying she wasn't, I'm sorry.
And sometimes you send me my thankful list and I send you yours because we're not in our right mind to think about it.
Exactly. Sometimes we need help with that list.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you, Anna.
Like I said, neither woman was in the ideal situation. Neither woman liked being where they were at.
No.
But could you imagine being only known as the second wife, a mom, and a tormentor? I mean, that's how she's going to be remembered in the Bible.
Forever.
Yeah, forever.
Forever.
Ever. I don't want to be remembered like that. Do you want to?
No.
No. My grandmother, after my grandpa died,
I don't want to be remembered as a woman who didn't have any joy.
Exactly. My poor grandmother, after my grandpa died, she was, even though his job was very dangerous and could be expected, it was still unexpected. And she became bitter. And that's, for a long time, that's all I knew of her, that she was bitter and she was cranky, and by golly, you had to give her a 3-day notice before you picked her up. And, she had all these things, and, some of it I think was her dietary. We'll talk about diet stuff later, but that's how we knew her for a long time. And it wasn't until the end that I think when she had fallen, and I had actually that weekend that she fallen, Joanna, sorry.
It's okay. It's a compliment.
Okay.
I love Jana.
Oh, good. She, I was driving actually near her apartment with Stevie, and I thought, I ought to call her up and see if she wants to have lunch. And I'm like, no, she'll just get all mad and angry because I didn't give her warning. Had I called, I would have known she had fallen. But I really believe in all my heart, the Lord stopped that because he and her had a great conversation. Because
while she was laying there
for a couple of days.
I literally heard that story.
And she...
Not your grandmother's, but other people.
Yeah. Well, all of a sudden I had never heard her nice to my mom. She was so nice to my mom. Hi, Ann. How are you doing? What? And Jack and Jana were talking to her, and they're like, hey, we're going to take care of you. She goes, no, Jesus is going to take care of me now. And I had never heard those words out of her mouth. So
they had a good convo.
They had a great conversation. So there was some beauty in the end. But all my other memories, terrible, I felt so because I'm sad for her. And I get it now. For a long time, I'm like, I don't understand you. I'm sorry, but I don't understand. But now I get it. I truly get it. I always tell Ray all the time, you better not die. I'm just telling you, you better not. Don't you dare.
I've literally heard you tell him that.
So I reminded him the other day, don't you dare. Because I could see myself being like my grandmother. She loved him. Even though she used to threaten, she didn't even want to be buried by him. It wasn't that. She just loved him.
Yeah.
And she was so sad and missed him.
Yeah, grief is a destroyer sometimes. Yeah. It really is.
And
debilitating.
If you are going through grief, if you're grieving right now and there's a proper time to grieve, but if you're been grieving for a long time, it's time to get help. You need to reach out to your church, a close friend, counseling service. You need to reach out and get some help. And so you don't have to stay there. Pray, ask the Lord to relieve you of it. I couldn't tell you how many times he hears me praying and, crumpled up saying, I can't handle this. I don't like the place I'm at. I need you to help me get out of this place.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't matter what you're grieving over.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be
a spouse.
It
could be anything.
Missing
A parent.
loved one. It could be gosh.
You could grieve over something, that you didn't have.
Yeah, you could grieve over being abused. You could be grieving over being raped.
Exactly.
Or having an abortion.
Exactly.
Or, our griefs are different, and they're different for each of us. And lots of things cause grief.
Right.
So
but we're
not limiting it.
No, we're not limiting. You're right.
Not at all.
And we don't have to stay there either, though. That's the thing.
Right.
We don't have to stay there.
Exactly.
We have a choice.
Thank you for letting us share our tools to become the women God created us to be. If we encouraged you today, visit us at moderndayabigails.com. Remember, you are loved, cherished, and prayed over.